Hello to the TOC meeting on August 8th. I hope everyone is doing well. We have the usual agenda today to review the action item from last week. We will get an update from the Foundation Infrastructure Working Group and review PRs, RFCs, and talk about any other business. I already checked the action items from last week. We don't have any. Good job. So we can start with the update. I will provide the update so I can just start. I already updated the meeting notes with the update from the Foundation Infrastructure Working Group. If you want to follow, yeah, you can open the meeting notes. So I will first talk about features we already delivered or they're under development. So the first one is about disaster recovery when you have situations where there was an outage on the IaaS provider and many virtual machines are impacted. So in these situations, usually you can use the cloud check, bosh cloud check, but it requires a lot of manual interaction and you have to go VM per VM, which can be really frustrated if you have many virtual machines which are affected. That's why a new feature has been developed, which can generate recovery plans per instance, per deployment, and you can select per instance group and problem type what kind of resolution you want. So basically you get the instance group problem types and select the resolutions. And in this way, you can generate a recovery plan for the deployment and just apply that. So which requires a lot less manual interaction, and max-in flight could be also overwritten to have a faster recovery. The next one is about Azure blobstore support. This is basically an alternative to AWS S3. So if you deploy to Azure, most probably you want to use Azure blobstore in case you want to have a more resilient setup of the bosh director, where the bosh director VM doesn't have any state. So the blobstore and the database are external services, and this could enable you to recover faster from situation where the bosh director VM is not reachable for whatever reason. For example, when an availability zone is down, you could deploy the direct VM on another availability zone and connect to the blobstore and database, and so have bosh up. Another one is about how the blobstore is configured on the agent side. So we had different ways how you could configure the blobstore in configuration. And the old ways were not so secure, going over the metadata service, for example. That's why we decided to consolidate here and have only a single way how you configure blobstore. And this is via the bosh director, and the bosh director will then send the configuration to the agent securely via the message path, which we have in place for the communication between the director and agents. Also, text support has been introduced for instance groups. So we had text support for deployment, for example, but people wanted to be able also to tag instance group differently, because some of the instance group in one deployment could be related to any other use cases, or yeah, have different responsibilities, and with this you can have tags and do analytics if you need to analyze what is going on based on metadata. Ruben, if you have to add somewhere, just interrupt me. Yeah. We have now also ARM 64 version for the BOSH CLI. We built was requested by the community. In AWS CPI, we introduced support for Aptium role. You can now configure this kind of login if you want. The bosh-bootloader got a major update. We changed a little bit how it's the architecture of the bosh-bootloader, and also we had a bump of the Terraform version, which wasn't backwards compatible and without migration support. Yeah, we decided to go this way because migration support would require a lot of effort, and bosh-bootloader is actually used to set up environments and just delete them. Yeah, it wasn't so critical to provide the migration scenario here.
Yeah. It's basically revived, right? Like it was, I don't know, it was being barely maintained. It was like on a branch, it was not even on main, and there was like some CI somewhere cutting releases. That was basically the state of it. And like with this effort done by Ramon, like basically main, the master branch was like, I don't know, made buildable again, and then like CI was also moved to the foundation owned Concourse instance, so like everything is now in much better state. So I think that's also important too. It's not only about the version, like a lot of stuff happened behind the scenes to make this possible.
Yeah, and we got also good feedback from other working groups, for example, from application time deployments and contributions from them. It was
maybe some feedback here. I mean, first of all, it was good that this project lives again and is updated, and that this ancient Terraform provider is gone. It cost a lot of effort. I mean, basically, the whole sea of deployment validation infrastructure had to be recreated from scratch, more or less, because no update was possible. I mean, no blaming, because even if we had talked before, the decision would be the same, I'm pretty sure. I mean, you can't stay on this old stuff, so that's very easy.
It was just like some collective tech debt, I think, that we had to take as a foundation.
Yeah. And the last one was to consolidate the BOSH packages and bosh-io into the cloudfoundry org. So we have all the BOSH related repositories now in one place. Regarding possible next things,
there's still more BOSH repos. The bosh-io repos still live in a different org. But, I mean, there's more now.
So at the moment we have 240 repositories, so that okay. I thought we moved all of them. Yeah, good to know. So there is an open RFC about supporting tracing in BOSH via the pcap-release. So we will talk about this later. This is a possible next thing. Also, there is a discussion about update strategies for the BOSH variables. Sometimes people are surprised that doing BOSH deploy doesn't show any diff, but deployment takes a long time. Unfortunately, at the moment, BOSH doesn't show any diff if variables are changed, and if it discovered on the way, we'll decide to update the deployment. And this new feature will enable people to define strategies when to update the variables, for example, only when stem cell updates are coming, so that you can be sure that there are no surprises. FIPS stem cell exploration, as Ruben mentioned during our last meeting, there are some discussions around how we can enable the foundation to validate FIPS-based stem cell. So still unclear, needs more discussions, and depends on Canonical how we can get the license from them for the validation. There is also open draft for the BOSH CPI to enable GPU support, so that you can have cloudfoundry applications which can use the GPU. And last but not least, we want also to move. Yeah.
The GPU one comes with an asterisk like that. It's just the first step, right? This is just making sure that the GPU is available on the VM when the VM is created. Then there's things where we need to make sure that there's drivers available in the stem cell or brought into the stem cell, but I mean that needs work. And then there's like exposing it all the way up into the containers. So we're not there yet. This is just like all experimental stuff that's happening to explore if it is even possible. I believe there's a proof of concept that has been hacked together through all these different layers. But yeah, this will be a broader effort before this becomes a reality.
Yeah, I heard about the working hacked setup, but yeah, yeah. Yeah, we want to move the direct pipeline to the community CI. At the moment, it is in VMware internally. Yeah. Is there anything else, Ruben, I forgot?
No, thank you. It's a complete update.
Any questions? Okay, doesn't seem.
Canonical did came back today with some updates on VIPs, but maybe we can leave that to the end. Or do we want to like, yeah, let's discuss it at the end.
Yeah. Okay, I've been looking through the PRs we have to review, and I found only one 661. I can put it also into the chat. So it's basically about archiving a repo, which is not required anymore. So the Silk repo.
Yeah, my area has been doing some cleanup with, we have a proliferation of repos. And we have repos for Silk release and for Silk, and then Silk is a submodule, but Silk is only ever used in Silk release. And so we're trying to do some consolidation. And this is one of those.
So you're removing it as a submodule, basically?
Yeah, exactly. We've thought about doing it in other areas. For example, Go Router is only used in routing release. It's a submodule. You have to do an annoying bump in multiple places when you bump it. But the one thing we're worried about is losing history. I think that's the biggest argument against. Maybe you can come. I wasn't the one who worked on this, but maybe there's a way to maintain it.
I would also think a pro is, I know there was a disjoin between the release and the source with Silk and the CF networking overlay network, VXLAN and all that last year that caused some issues with stuff. So I think going down to a single source is definitely a pro here for that.
Yeah. Is it? So we have 3 approvals. I can go and merge. Okay, we have already 5. Thank you. Okay, so we don't have any other PRs. At least I couldn't find. Do you see any other PRs we should discuss? If not, so we can proceed with the RFCs. We have one RFC which is ready for starting final comment period. It's 640. It's about the pcap-release integration into second paste into BOSH. We had a discussion about the RFC in the during the foundational working group meeting last week, and already we clarified all the open points, and it's basically ready for starting the final comment period. We decided to go with the more light approach of integrating pcap-release into BOSH. And based on feedback, we can then see how whether it's required to be we have the full support in the future or not. So actually, the process is we can also Dominik, you already commented on that motion to trigger final comment. Yeah, I think we just can vote on this.
Yeah, I didn't know
Currently-
like what the process was to trigger this period, so I just felt I added a comment.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, the process is the creators or the owners of the RFC can start, or the TOC can start, and this start has to be approved by the TOC and some of the creators of the RFC authors. And if we have enough people approved with thumbs up, then it's, so to say, the start is approved.
All right.
I can put a date maybe as a comment. So if we start now, that means 1 week. Next week is 15th of August.
Currently, these repos are in the app runtime platform working group because we thought it was going to be a CF thing initially. Would it make sense to move them to the BOSH working group foundational infrastructure?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
Because we chose the light version, right, which is basically just integrating it in the BOSH CLI and potentially using a tiny bit as a library, but we won't be using the whole release.
Okay, I see. So the changes will be to BOSH itself. You won't need any of the new repos.
Yeah, but will only be CLI changes for CLI.
Yeah, we already use the SSH functionality we have in BOSH and TCP dump on the stem cell, and yeah, we have all the CLI. We discussed about whether something can be reused, and this is not clear at the moment. So Dominik and the colleagues will try to find reuse options, but it's not clear.
Yeah, I think in the end it will be possible, but it may be only just a small fraction. I think the reusing the code is more like an organizational kind of thing now, not so much about actual like code reuse, because there won't be as much. But I understand Ruben wants to keep the separation of the responsibility of what's BOSH and what's the pcap functionality separate, which makes sense. And that's why we aim to have at least a little, like the algorithm that does the actual merging of the streams and have that as a separate package, I assume. Yeah, and then just link it basically into the CLI.
So that will be the only shared component right? That library will be used in pcap-release and the BOSH CLI.
And maybe not even. So it might be a library that is specific for the use case in BOSH, but it has little to do with the remaining pcap release. That's also fine. I mean, again, it's more of a responsibility separation than a code release.
Right.
Okay. And we have a new RFC, but I think Stephan can provide more details.
Yeah, this
Wait,
RFC came from it is about enabling cloudfoundry to use an existing feature of the UAA, that is zone or UAA zones, identity zones, and that feature would allow to fulfill some requirements that we are facing by SAP customers, that the users of cloudfoundry should be separated well, so that when let's say a user from company A asks for a user of company B, then cannot see any names or email addresses, etc. And it would also open the door in the direction that a customer can actually pre-provision the user base for their company and also pre-assign roles in cloudfoundry like space developer, org manager, etc. As of today, that's not possible because the user creation requires admin rights, which we cannot give out, of course, for CF. And there has been some POC internally, what it would mean, changes in the cloud controller and also changes in the UAA and maybe in the CF CLI to have it nice usable. And this RFC describes this change. So we hope basically feedback from the UAA folks and from up runtime interfaces, and then could go from there. Maybe there are also some concerns about the proposed changes.
I saw that Philip mentioned the teams in the RFC. I'm not sure whether people are monitoring those notifications. Do we have, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, we have already inside, of course, the cloud controller folks, because half of them are here. Yeah. Philip is one of them, UAA as well. So here there's no problem. CF CLI is maybe an issue, and we pinged, I think, also the working group leads at least.
Okay, I didn't see this. I was basically going to ask how should we notify people.
Okay, it's the
teams.
GitHub handles, yeah, exactly, of the team. So let's, I don't know, I would. Okay, got it. You don't know either.
Yeah.
So maybe we ping, yeah, explicitly, Greg at least.
I can put into the Slack channel. I will notify. So add into the Slack channel and then ping the lead. I can add this as an action item for me.
So yeah, at the moment, it's just a proposal there. We wait for feedback, and let's say in 1 or 2 months, we would then consider for the first implementation steps, unless if this RFC is accepted. So something for the Q4 this year or so.
Yeah. Ameilia, is there anything new about the RFC regarding readiness, health check type?
Not that I've been updated with since I've got back from vacation.
Yeah,
but I can make sure I'm ready to present next week.
Yeah, I think we can decide on the last open question then. Maria mentioned the option to reduce the cycle check interval, but I don't know what kind of options we have there to reduce. The default is 30 seconds. Can we have different intervals for the different types of checks?
Yeah, I think we can have different intervals for the different types of check, like the readiness check. But I think the interval that will affect it the most would be like the route emitter. So even if the health check marks it as unready immediately, if the route emitters only emitting routes every 30 seconds.
Yeah, okay.
And
it doesn't help. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk next week about this. Then we are done with the RFCs. I have one topic. I see one topic in the other business. I am on vacation. Who wants to take the moderation?
I'll moderate.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there anything else?
Yeah, so Canonical came back with a proposal for FIPS. So they apparently have the option of giving an unmetered account. So maybe we could sign up with a UA or an email address from the foundation. So like a special email address for the foundation. And that would then have like some form of unlimited usage and then they could also send an email from their product management or something, like an official statement saying what it is supposed to be used for, right? So that we at least have something in writing, and then we don't have to go the complex contractual route, right? So this would be a more lightweight approach that probably gives us what we need. So that is the update. I haven't responded. I still have to discuss. I think also maybe with Chris. Oh, who's also in this call.
Yeah, just let me know when there's something actionable.
Yeah.
That's good progress stuff.
But yeah, it sounds like a usable workflow. And it doesn't involve a bunch of automation on our side, which I think is a win.
Okay. So you'll take care of this, Ruben. Good. Is there anything else? Not, we are done. Thank you for the attention. Thank you for your time, and Dominik and Alex, sorry, for joining the call regarding the RFC. And have a good evening, day.
You're welcome. See you guys.
See you.
Hey, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.